Whatever you want.
What's going on, y'all? I am Jamie Shaw, owner of Absolute Basketball Company. This is our weekly Coaches Corner that we have. This Thursday, very excited today to have Murray State coach Tim Kaine on with us to talk about the journey, the coaching journey, and embracing all that. A little bit about Coach Kaine. Graduated from Winthrop in 2002. He's been a coach at every level, starting off at D3, going up to Newberry at D2 level, and then he's been at D1 level at Winthrop, FAU, Georgia Southern, and now he's at Murray State. So very excited to hear about his journey, hear about his path, some good tips and all that kind of stuff of embracing the coaching journey and all that kind of stuff too. And how we're going to format this, guys, just like usual. It's going to be, he's going to give a presentation, give all his pointers and stuff, and a talk. And then at the end, we're going to open it up to questions from everybody. So we're going to let y'all patrol yourselves. Please, we want this to be interactive. We want tons of questions and answers and all that kind of stuff, and let y'all kind of dictate the pace and all that too. Get some good conversation flowing and everything. So at the very end, please, we'll let you police yourselves and unmute yourselves and all that kind of stuff and ask away. But without further ado, here is Coach Tim Kaine on the Absolute Basketball Coaches Corner.
Jamie, appreciate you having me on here. Coaches, I appreciate you taking your time to get on here and listen to what I have to say. I don't know if it'll help at all, but, I'll try to help a little bit. Obviously, Jamie talked about the coaching journey I've been on. I was a guy that played basketball at Tennessee Martin for a year, transferred to Winthrop University to play basketball and soccer, then ended up finishing just playing soccer. But I worked summer camps all summer at Duke. I would go any basketball camp I could work, I would go work it because I knew I wanted to be a coach at the time. I thought I did. And then my senior year, I was like, man, I'm just going to go get my MBA, get into business. And then my girlfriend at the time in college, it was like Northwestern High School in Rock Hill needs a head coach, 9th grade head coach. And they're like, man, she knew I loved coaching. So I just started doing it. And that's where I fell in love with everything and wanted to be a coach. Was being a high school coach was my first job. Just finishing up my degree. And so, I always talk about in this journey, obviously I've been a high school coach, 9th grade high school coach at that. I've been a Division III assistant, Division II, Division I ops guy, Division I assistant, moved around all over the place. And, I said, embrace your journey because you have to. I've got guys that I'm good friends with that are Division I head coaches right now. And I got guys that I'm great friends with that are out of business. And I always talk about comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare your journey to someone else's. It's your journey. And wherever you're at, be the best at what you can do while you're there. I mean, I know as a young coach, especially for me, I was a Division III at first, and I was like, as a Division I guy going, oh, man, I don't know how good these kids are going to be. And those dudes could play. And they were really good. Some of the best basketball I've seen, and some of the best coaches, too, at that level. That it really opened my eyes to see that, there's great college players at NAIA, Division III, Division II, Division I. It doesn't matter what level. And it doesn't matter what level you coach at. It's the same thing. Basketball is basketball. I think I've been in this profession now 19 years. It'll be going into 19 years. And the one thing that frustrates me sometimes is like guys will move up and then they think they're big time. Don't want to talk to you, or whether they're a high school coach, became a college coach, or became a high school assistant, became a high school head coach. And that to me drives me nuts as a person and as a coach. Like, we're all coaching, we're doing the same thing, we're all doing it because we love it. At no point, at least in my mind, did I do it for the money, because I didn't make over my age until I was like 34. And obviously it's paid off in the past couple of years where I am here at Murray State and the success we've had. But you just have to embrace your journey. And my thing is, I went from working Duke camp, not knowing what the hell I was going to do, trying to get into coaching after I coached high school. I run into a coach, Brad Luce. He used to be the assistant at Missouri. When that staff got let go, he got let go, and now he works in the administration side with the University of Missouri. We start talking. He's like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to be a GA." He goes, "Well, my dad's the head coach at Austin Peay." I had no idea his dad was the head coach at Austin Peay State, Dave Luce, whose name is on the court. I mean, he's a legend there. Done a great job. And he goes, "Well, there's an anti-nepotism law that we just found out about. I can't be a GA there." So he literally calls his dad, puts me on the phone with him, and I get the job there as a GA. And that's how it happened. And interviewed with him. He liked what I could bring to the table. I was the third assistant there at a Division I school coming right out of college. I was the third assistant because they didn't have a third assistant. They didn't have the money for it. So I got to coach on the floor. I didn't go recruiting, but I got to coach on the floor and get my feet wet and learn from an unbelievable head coach. And that's the one thing. I come from a military family. My dad went to West Point. I got two brothers went there, two cousins. My grandfather was a general, like just an Army family. That's what most everyone in my family did. But every coach I worked for, I would talk to my dad, and he would just be like, make sure you learn what to do. And what's almost more important is what not to do sometimes. And in that, embracing that journey, like Harrison, I see you're a GA, correct? Yeah, Division II, Lincoln Memorial, unbelievable spot. Like, some people who are coming into coaching, who are young guys, are going to sit there and be like, oh man, I'm not going Division II. Like, it doesn't matter. That's the biggest thing for me is if you can get a chance to coach, whether it's men's, women's, it's basketball, it's youth basketball, it's a chance for you to grow. Like, I get jealous now that we can't work camps anymore as Division I assistants. When I was younger, going to camps, I remember going to Duke camp, and there were Syracuse assistant coaches working that camp. There were coaches from other leagues, high major Division Is, working the camp to become better coaches. I think for the younger coaches, and that's what you should do in the summer. If you're a younger coach and you can work camp, man, work camp. It's the best thing you can do, and it's the best relationships that you're going to build. I mean, I still talk to guys that I work Duke camp. I was on Richie Schuler does a PhD hoops coaching for him, and I was on that. Well, 4 or 5 guys I used to work Duke camp with were on it as well. And those are guys that have relationships, and one of them is with USA Basketball now. And so he and I started talking, and now we're going to start doing stuff together. And it's just those journeys and embracing that. And for me, getting that Division III was unbelievable. I mean, Coach Tucker, he was sitting, I saw the little tweet, man, I appreciate that. I recruited him out of high school. That's how old I am right now. I know I look like I'm like 30 something, but I'm in my 40s, and I recruited him. And it just shows you where, one, I got to meet a bunch of great people, but I got to recruit my tail off. I lived on the road the whole entire year. I put 25,000 miles on my car. Brand new car, I put 25,000 miles recruiting. Because in Division III, there are no rules with recruiting. You can go out at any time you want. To me, that's the two best things I think in coaching. Junior college has become a huge thing. And a lot of coaches hire those junior college assistants because they see you coach, they see you recruit, and you have players. And most Division I coaches, they want to contact you because they want players. And that's what the most of them want to do. And then Division III, you can be out on the road the entire year. Division II, you can be out a lot of the time too when Division Is can't. And I tell you, I lean on some Division II coaches who I'm good friends with to ask guys they see out on the road, man, who do I need to be on? I know you're out there. I know you know guys that are probably going to blow up and you might not have a shot at. Don't tell me the guys you want and you think you have a shot at. Obviously, I'm not going to be that guy. But like, that's what's given me the experience and been able to connect and build those connections for me. And, like I said, the Division III was unbelievable. I was the only assistant, full-time assistant. I got to do scouts by myself with the head coach. I got to do the recruiting. I mean, I was living on the road that whole entire time. And then from there, ended up going to Newberry College, Division II. So I went Austin Peay 1 year, Guilford College 1 year. Then I went to Newberry College for 3 years, Division II in South Carolina. And the way I got that job, Sean Golden was the head coach, he's a South Carolina legend. He was a McDonald's All-American out of Greenville, South Carolina, played at Georgia. Well, he was the assistant at Winthrop when I was at Winthrop. So our connection was I got on with him and got to learn from him. And I was the only assistant. I was the head cross-country coach on top of that. So, I mean, I was coaching cross-country, and the only thing I knew about cross-country is I dated a girl that ran cross-country in college. That's all I knew. I was a really good van driver, nothing else. I bought the uniforms. I made sure they ate right. Training-wise, I asked a buddy of mine who ran cross-country, and he gave me something to do, and I ran at 6 a.m. every morning so that way it didn't mess with basketball. And then at the end of my career there at Newberry, they moved basketball away from that, but I became the academic coordinator for baseball. And it's embracing all those things. Had I not embraced those and thought I was too big time to be the cross country coach, to be the academic, I mopped the floor our second year at Newberry. The day of the game, the floor had gum all over it. Well, I asked the people that worked in there if they would clean the floors. They told me no. I said that's their job. They just clean everything around and they clean in the bleachers. So I was out there with a mop and a bucket, mopping the floor, scraping up gum before our first game, my second year there at Newberry. And I'll never forget it. But Coach Luce, to go back to him at Austin Peay, I remember I grabbed a broom to go sweep the floor. He said, no, I'm going to do this. This is my job. I'm not above this. And I'm like, man, a Division I head coach? Like, he played at Memphis. He coached at Memphis. He coached Penny Hardaway. He helped recruit Penny Hardaway. And then he was at Austin Peay, and he's like, nah, you're never beneath doing any of that stuff. And really taught me that, to where, mopping those floors, obviously I didn't love it when I was doing it, sitting there all by myself trying to mop, the whole dang court. But it taught me a lot that, hey, man, if you want to do this, you got to sacrifice. You got to do things that you might not want to do. At one time when you were younger, you thought you were kind of above. And I'm sure high school coaches could tell you every day, they're popping popcorn, they're doing concessions, they're doing everything, making sure tickets, those are the things that people don't understand in coaching, is you're going to do a lot of those things that, as a player, when you were playing, you never imagined you would do as a coach, and didn't imagine your coaches were doing for you either. And just to embrace those things and make sure that, man, love doing it. Make sure you do it to the best of your ability, no matter what it is. And, obviously I was fortunate enough to go to Winthrop University and become director of basketball operations there. And I got to learn, it wasn't as hard, because the Division II, Division III level, you have to do everything. You are the ops. You are the assistant coach. You are the academic coordinator. You are everything. You have to do all those things. And so when I got there, it really wasn't that much of a change, other than I didn't get to be on the court for coaching, which obviously wasn't as fun, but it was a great year. I got to learn under Randy Peel, who I think is one of the best basketball minds out there. Talked to him this morning. His mind goes a million times an hour if you've ever talked to him. I mean, he's all over the place, but, a great coach, a great man who, hell, I'm out on the road recruiting. This dude, I'm in Florida recruiting, and he drove to Florida from Nashville when he was at Tennessee State. And he's 50-something years old. And I'm like, Coach, what the hell are you doing? You need to be flying down here. But he didn't care. That's what it took to get it done. So he did it. And this guy's been a Division I head coach that at UNCG almost beat Cincinnati. And at Winthrop went to 2 or 3 NCAA tournaments while he was there. And this guy's going to drive all the way from Nashville down to damn Miami. I was like, man, one, I'm fortunate I don't have to do that where I'm at right now. But two, like, you just got to do what it takes to get it done. And so at Winthrop, I got to learn from him and learn all those things. And then obviously I got to learn sort of the Greg Marshall way, which I already kind of knew, because Coach Peel really added onto that and put his own twist on it. But it got to grow from that. And then from there, I was fortunate enough to go to Florida Atlantic University and work for Mike Jarvis. Obviously he was at Boston University. He was Patrick Ewing's head coach in high school. Was at GW, and when GW was rolling, I remember watching them on ESPNs every Saturday, that A10 versus UMass. Those games were a war. And getting to work for a man like that, and then went to St. John's after that and went to the Elite Eight. Obviously, he coached Meta World Peace. He had some funny stories on Meta World Peace. I'll tell one real quick just because it's funny. Meta would get kind of crazy in practice and kind of lose his mind. And he'd have the priest come over and calm him down. That's the only way he could calm him down. Well, the priest didn't work this day. He kicks him out. He says he comes by his office. He said there's an old school typewriter stuck in the wall right next to his office because it was drywall. Meta World Peace took that typewriter, and he said that thing weighed at least 80 pounds, and chucked that bad boy right into the wall, and it was just stuck in the wall. And he was just like, man, that's just Meta. He was the hardest playing guy he ever coached in his life, the most competitive. He said it just every once in a while. Yeah, couldn't control himself. He said, so that was one of those days. But, learning from him, obviously I was with him for 6 years. And I call him Mariano Rivera. He is the greatest closer ever. Coach Jarvis would Jedi mind trick kids into committing. And it wasn't a trick, but he just knew how to talk to kids and how to talk to parents And he would just tell the kid, I'll never forget, we got Stephon Moody, who ended up at Ole Miss after he went junior college, after he transferred from us. He averaged 15 a game as a freshman. Moody's sitting right there, and he's like, you like it down here? The kid's like, yeah, I love it, coach. His parents, you like it down here? Yeah, we love it, coach. He's like, all right, well, it's done. You're coming. Everyone likes it. We agree on that. Let's go. The kid just was like, yeah, okay. All right, sounds good. And just committed on the, like, right there on the spot. And obviously that was a steal for us. But that's kind of things he did. He was just so good at dealing with people, knowing how to talk with people. And then I was fortunate enough after we got let go of Florida Atlantic to go to Georgia Southern and work for Mark Byington, who's now at James Madison, who he taught me to relax a little bit too. You know, Dre knows me a little bit. I can get fired up a little bit. And he just taught me, I'd see him in practice and we turn the ball over 10 times and he'd just be like, oh, it's no big deal. Like, is that Bobby Cremens, like, hey, man, just let the guys play. They'll figure it out. And we also had 5 fifth-year seniors, so that helped. But, like, and how he coached, and he was really brilliant at times, offensive mind, man. He was really impressive. Not to say he wasn't a good defensive coach. And then after 1 year there, I was fortunate to get here at Murray State. And, you know, when we got here, Isaiah Cannon, literally the day I got here, Isaiah Cannon gets drafted. And he's going to the NBA. My first day is a draft party here. So we got thousands of people in the arena. I'm like, oh, man, this is the place I want to be. Like, you know, this is big time. And then McMahon is like, hey, man, we don't have very many players left, though. He's going to the NBA, but we graduated 4 guys that were studs, that were all league. You know, 3 of them were all league. So we knew we weren't going to have a whole lot back. And we kind of had to restart and reboot the program. And obviously the past 3 years, been fortunate to have the success we've had and had guys like Jonathan Stark, a guy named John Morant. He's been pretty good for us here, doing all right in the NBA. And just for me, you know, working for Coach McMahon, he's one of the best coaches in the country. I know I'm working for him and I can be biased and all that stuff. And we grew up together, so it's even more biased. But, I mean, we've been top 50 in offense and defense the last 3 years because of one of it's his coaching and his culture and how he's built the culture here. And I'll just give you something we live off of. You know, we always talk about our cores of our program are hard work, unselfishness, toughness, accountability, and joy. And we really preach joy to our guys. I think that's something that, for me, I've worked for coaches that, man, they made it at the end of the year, the guys didn't want to play for them. And it's a long season now, I think, for all of us at every level, to where kids are going all summer long, they're going all fall ball in high school, and then they play the season. And we preach joy and enjoying it. And we make sure, yeah, we're going to work. And if you don't work, you're not going to play at all. And certain guys in our program, you know, if they don't work, our guys will kind of basically say, hey, man, this isn't for you. This isn't the place for you. It doesn't have to be the coaches that say it. And he's just done a great job just spreading that joy to where at the end of the year, man, we're playing our best ball every single year. Even this year, I know we lost in a heartbreaker last possession to go to our 3rd straight NCAA tournament with a team that had lost John Morant and Shaq Buchanan, who's playing in the G League and putting up good numbers there, and lost another first-team preseason all-league player with a knee injury. So that's just a little bit of my story. I'd love to answer any questions you guys have, you know, anything that you do that you feel like would help. Free for anything right now. Just let me know.
Hey, Coach, Chris Sauce from Avery University. I was just wondering, what were the biggest kind of lessons you were able to take as you moved up in levels from Division III, Division II? Is there anything that really stuck out?
I mean, I think the biggest lesson is kind of what I talked about is, man, it's basketball. Like, yeah, it changes in the fact that your job will change. And the one thing I will say this, who you are at certain schools, you're the same person, you're the same coach, but you might have to tailor it a certain way for your head coach. I think that's the biggest thing, not as much moving from the higher level, going to a higher level, it's moving and working for different coaches. Well, you already have a guy on staff who's kind of the hard ass or the disciplinarian. Well, you don't need to be that guy this time. Well, where you were on the last staff, or your head coach wants a guy. I went to Georgia Southern, man. Coach Byington said, man, I got the same staff. We got 5 fifth-year seniors. I want you to come in and just be a great guy. Don't rock the boat. You don't have to reinvent basketball for us. You don't have to do all that stuff. I'm not hiring you to bring in a new defense, new offense. I want you to blend in with this group and make sure that we mesh and we become, a unit, and we try to win a championship. And I knew that year that was my role. And I knew he had a couple guys from Florida that I knew already. So he really kept me in charge of, hey, man, I know you already know these guys. I want you to just be their guy. And that's what you need to do. And that's what I did. I don't think it changes that much, the level of the basketball, the responsibilities of academics, of cleaning the floors, of, doing laundry, doing all that stuff. That's what changes. Just you have a little less jobs maybe that you were doing more when you're Division II and Division III. How I go and look back at all my notes of all the stuff I have at then, I was like, man, I don't do a damn thing anymore. I know I'm recruiting, I know I'm watching things, but I just look at all the stuff I created and I'm like, damn, I did that? Like, man, like you forget that you did some of those things that you don't have to do anymore.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach. Chandler Frazier-Pauls. I'm the head coach of the Pennington School in New Jersey. I love the idea of preaching joy, kind of that whole thing. Is there anything specifically you guys do as a program to kind of, do that, or is it more just like a cultural thing that,
Yeah, it's more of a cultural thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the one thing Coach always talks about: alignment. We all need to be in alignment. I mean, we preach alignment all the time to our guys during the season. It's just like we all have to be on the same page. Coach always says, hey, man, if you're driving a car and one wheel's out of alignment, what happens? You go right in the ditch. And we'll preach that after a game, whether it's a good game or a bad game. And we'll just preach that. And with the joy, it goes with that as well. That he wants to coach guys that he enjoys as well. We've coached some guys our first 2 years that honestly we did not enjoy coaching. They didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Well, we got guys we enjoyed coaching. Obviously, a lot of them were really talented and are still talented guys that are here. But when we're recruiting, we'll watch a guy and he'll just be like, hey, man, I don't think I can coach a guy like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest thing is if Coach calls a guy on a phone call and he's like, man, I really did not enjoy talking to that guy, it's going to be hard to keep him in our top, the list, because he wants to make sure he can have a guy that he can coach. And I think that's, something that Chris asked me just about the levels. That's one thing, too, is just making sure you do with the coaches you work for. You don't recruit for you. You recruit for them. It's their program. What do they want? What kind of players do they want? You got to recruit towards what they want. I think that's how you last. If you recruit to what you want, man, you're not going to last very long. Coaches are going to get rid of you.
Coach, speaking on recruitment, by the way, it's Manny here from Orangeville Prep, Canada.
Yeah.
Speaking on recruitment, Coach, you've had various stops. How has your recruiting philosophy changed? And philosophy is not the right word. How have you approached recruitment, and how do you kind of approach it now? Do you have a core group of AAU circles that you kind of check in with every year, or do you kind of go best available? Or
I mean, for me, I've been all over the place. The Carolinas, now Kentucky, Tennessee. I've been in Florida, Georgia. Florida has always been a really big spot for me to go recruiting, even while I'm here. And when you get hired, sometimes the coach, like at Georgia Southern, the only reason I got hired is because I had Florida ties. He needed a guy with Florida ties because it was right on the border, and he hired me for that. I think it changes on where you're at school. Obviously, when I was at Guilford College, Division III, we didn't have scholarships. Man, I recruited everyone and their mother. Like literally, we blanketed the Carolinas, Virginia. Like we were recruiting everyone you could. I mean, me and Coach Dre, we drove down to Daytona, Florida one time and drove right back like the same day, just because we were down there to see if there were some players, and then we drove right back. Whereas here, and especially after the success we've had, it's been a little easier. I'll be honest with you, because we have a name recognition now. Whereas we had a name recognition, Isaiah Cannon, Cameron Payne. There was a name recognition, but like Ja's a superstar. And so that's obviously helped us with that. But, I mean, we're still recruiting all over. I mean, I've got a huge list. It's not like I'm sitting there, I'm at, one of the blue bloods where I'm like, oh, these are the top 5 guys we want. We're going after them. And if we don't get them, we got our, next 5. Like, that's not how it works for us. It's the best available. Obviously, the guys in coaching, you contact them and let them know, like, hey, man, here's what we're looking for. You know any guys? And like I said, Division II, Division III, prep school coaches, junior college coaches, those guys you have relationships with that are genuine relationships. Right. That you kind of go through those guys like, hey, man, have you seen this kid play? Yeah, man, I think he could fit what you guys do.
Gotcha. Yeah, appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah.
Coach Kaine, you were just talking about like the ties and everything. And so it was my first GA year, just got done like going to boarding school in Virginia, hometown's Rock Hill, South Carolina. So as far as like having my ties as like my hometown, so it's not all that much there. So I guess how do you create these ties when I guess in the South Carolina area, considering like this is where I'm from, or back in Virginia, or I guess how do I create that circle, especially now that like with the coronavirus making AAU even harder, where it's hard to create the relationships on the circuit, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is different with this. I mean, I can't, this is all new for everybody with this, the pandemic going on, that it is harder to do it, you know? But I mean, I'm from Oak Ridge, Tennessee. You don't even know where the hell that is. Like, most people that meet me don't think I'm from Tennessee. Like, they think I'm either from the Carolinas or I'm from Florida. But my thing is, you go, are you allowed out on the road?
Yeah. Yes,
then
sir.
go out as much as you can. Go out as much as you can, meet as many people as you can. Who cares if they have a player or not right now? Obviously, you need to find and get players, and you guys are damn good, so you better get some good ones, you know, because you continue success you guys have there. But you also need to go just meet guys and be genuine with them. I think as coaches, you go to the Final Four, man, you know, you walk around and you'll meet guys and you'll be like, literally dudes will walk off and they're like, man, that dude's you know, and they'll say whatever about the dude, like, because they're phony. You know, they're not being real. Like, they don't really care. They just want to use you, which is fine. I mean, hell, the players should be using us to get a degree and play basketball. You know, I mean, it's no different. At the end of the day, we all have to use each other, but do we do it in a positive way? And I think that's the biggest thing with it. And you need to go out on the road. You need to meet everyone, introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Harrison Burton. I'm at Lincoln Memorial right now, you know. And then you just start to hang out with them a little bit, maybe after, you know, go grab something to eat. I mean, hell, there's times I never forget. I met Evan Daniels. He's sitting with Dave Tellup, who's now with the Spurs. We're at the field house. I'm at FAU. He literally was like, hands out his card to our other assistant, Matt McCall, who's now the head coach at UMass. And then he was like, oh man, I don't have a card. And I was like, oh, I'm not cool enough for you. Like, you don't have a card for me? Like, you know, just like started busting his balls. Well, that night I go out to eat with Tellup because I had known him previously when I was at Guilford, and so I got to know him. Well, then I built a relationship with Evan. Half of it was me busting his balls about telling him he was too big time to have a card. But hell, I talked to him yesterday or 2 days ago when I was driving back, you know, and we just built a relationship. It's no different than you, and it is a friendship. You know, you build friends, you call them up, hey, man, how you doing? You don't have to call them every day. You don't have to call them every week. It doesn't have to be even every month for certain people. Dre and I have known each other since Duke camp when we were like 19. And I mean, I'm 42 now. So, I mean, we've known each other forever. Hell, there'll be times I'll talk to Dre for 6-7 months on the phone, but right when we get back on the phone, I mean, it's like we never, you know, and it's the same. I got coaches all over the country that I know. That's just your relationship with them. I think you just got to cultivate that and be genuine with it, you know, because everyone knows they're calling you for a reason. Hell, when everyone thought at one point Coach McMahon was probably going to get another job, at that Final Four, I was popular as hell in Minneapolis. Like, people were, oh, Tim, hey, man, how you doing? Like, you know, and I could tell the guys that I knew that were really, like, happy to see me, and dudes that I knew were just trying to see, oh, you get a job or you going somewhere else, can he help me get here? Which is fine, but you also know the guys that are genuine about
it. Yeah, because I definitely noticed like that. Last summer was the first time I started. You see some assistant coaches just not even looking at players; they just rather socialize and talk. And I never knew about, like, I guess the balance of talking and actually working and things like that. Yeah. And I also saw, like, when Coach Kearns got App State, his phone was blowing up with just mass amounts of people just wondering, like, can I get a job? Can I get a job? So I guess creating that relationship. So then if you are talking to them, they aren't just thinking that you're just using them, but they know that it was there before, the relationship was there before the job and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think and it's hard for guys to get a head job because they have relationships with so many people, and they call them and they're just like, you know, they have to tell people no, they only have 3 spots for assistants. Yeah. I mean, that's difficult. You know, every coach I've talked to that's gotten a head job, they're like, man, I've lost friends over it. They don't even talk to people because they won't talk to them anymore. And they're just like, well, what I needed, I was in a different part of the country or a different part of the state. Like, what you bring to the table wasn't exactly what I wanted and what I needed at the time. And you can't be offended by that either. Like, you got to have thick skin in this business. Like, I've been fired twice. We got let go at Newberry. We got let go at FAU. Like that's part of it. Coach Duckett, who was at South Carolina, was a head coach at Grambling State for a minute, and then was at Miami, Ohio last. I don't know where he is right now. But
Charleston Southern.
He's at Charleston Southern? Really? Well, we got let go at Newberry. I'm in the Final Four in Atlanta. I'm actually about to interview for the head job at Newberry. I'm in a suit and stuff, and I'm sitting there, and I used to go to South Carolina's practices. That's another thing I did. I was at Newberry at Division II. Well, I was like, I don't always want to be at Division II. I want to see if I can get Division I. Well, I went to their practices. I just took notes. I didn't ask a million questions. I wasn't over there like, oh, man, I want to be at South Carolina. I just built a relationship with them. He said to me straight up, said, hey, man, welcome to coaching. You just got fired. Like, he's just like, you're here now. You're a real coach. And anyone that's been let go and had to try and find a job, man, it sucks. And obviously this time in our situation in the world right now with the pandemic, and then the carousel didn't move at all. And you got guys who are unbelievable coaches right now who aren't going to have a job and might not get one. And that's why I said, like, comparison's the thief of joy. Like, how fortunate I am to be at Murray State and to have a job right now. So I know guys that I think are unbelievable coaches and unbelievable people that might not have a job coaching right now. So,
Coach, how did you personally?
I don't know. I mean, it can always get bigger.
Coach, I was gonna jump on that. How did you personally navigate through that after you were let go at FAU? Like, were you just reaching out to your contacts? Did somebody reach out to you? Like, what was that whole process like when you are let go?
yeah, it's a lonely feeling. I tell you that. It's funny. Like, you go to the Final Four and people are like, "You're all right, man. You're all right." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm good. Like, I'm not sick. Like, I don't have an illness." Like, but in coaching, we were talking like about coaches that are head coaches that win and go to NCAA tournaments and get fired. No one wants to touch them, which is crazy. But the way I navigated it is my good friends who knew the guys that had job openings. I'd be like, hey, man, half the time I didn't even have to ask. They're like, I'm making the call for you. I mean, I had two guys in Florida who were two of the top coaches in the state of Florida who had just won state championships without me asking, called Mark Byington, and it was like, you need to hire him. And because he wanted to make sure they had, a footprint in Florida, he was like, man, that's really why I hired you. Because you could help me in this state. And I had guys in the state that were vouching for you that were like, hey, man, if I have players, I'll help Tim out. I'm not saying you'll get them, but you guys will be in there. Yeah. And I think that's where that network comes along, of being genuine with people and just being a good person to people. It's not always going to work out the way you want, but, man, it's going to work out. It's going to work out the way God wanted it to. I mean, I had no plans to come to Murray State. It literally, it was crazy. I was at Georgia Southern. We had gone 22-8 or 9, just lost in a championship game. Coach Huff was there. It was the worst Division I basketball game championship in history. 38-36 was the final. Not halftime. That was the final. And so, I'm loving it there. We had a big-time recruiting class coming in who ended up being really damn good for them. So then, Steve Prohm gets Iowa State. Coach McMahon gets Murray State and calls me up and says, hey, man, you're coming. And that's literally, it's my relationship with him. And my relationship with him is different than probably 99.9% of what happens in coaching, because we grew up together. We're from a little ass town in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Grew up together. We're crazy enough to get into coaching. And he got the job here and trusted that he could hire me and I would do a good job for him. So, every job I've gotten has been a relationship. The only one I didn't get was Guilford College, but it's a relationship how I got it. They called the Duke basketball office, and the secretary was the younger secretary, and he was like, hey, I'm looking for young coaches in North Carolina, because Coach Palumbo, who's the coach there now, it was his first year. He was in Ohio before, and he played at Virginia Wesleyan. So he didn't know anyone in the area. Called the secretary. She brought up my name. That's how I got involved. Literally, the secretary helped me get the job at Duke. Like, that's how crazy it is. From working Duke camp, and she knew me and knew I was trying to get a job. And I mean, it's crazy. I talked to someone the other day. I sat there in my buddy's house in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Give you a little shout out, Harrison. And I sat there and was like, I'm either joining the special forces or I'm going to be a basketball coach. And I was like, God, it's up to you. If I don't get this job, man, I'm going to try and go special forces. I don't know if I'll make it, but I'm going to try. I had the book on special forces. I've been reading it. My brother was helping me. He's like, man, you'd be great at it. And that's why I got into coaching. That was my road. I sat there and prayed and said, if I get this job, I'll coach. If not, I'm going special forces. I'm glad I didn't. Yeah, no, it is hard. I mean, the route I went and Coach Andre Gray went, I don't think that road isn't. I mean, we went Division III, Division II, Division I. That doesn't happen as much anymore. Uh, if I were to tell a young guy, one, don't worry about money. You can afford it. You're gonna be broke as hell either way. So, man, just enjoy that. Just be broke. Take what job you can get. Don't take a terrible job with bad people. That's my biggest thing. Be with good people, because man, there's people that could pay me $500,000 I wouldn't work for in this business for anything. I'd be like, no, I'm good. I like my life. I like who I work for. I like seeing my family every once in a while. Like, I wouldn't work for them. Same thing when you're starting out. Like, be with a good person who you feel like can help you grow, and that has helped other guys grow as well, and has helped guys get jobs. It's not, you don't want to work for a guy and he's like not trying to help you at all get a job, because you'll find guys like that. They'll get pissed off if you're looking for jobs once the season's over. Obviously, don't do it during the season, but they'll get mad at that. My advice, to be honest, if I had to do it all over again, I would have taken the Miami-Dade JUCO job that Butch Estes offered me, because I think in junior college, and it was as my man at Ole Miss, Kermit, told me one time, he's like, Tim, man, like, I know you moved up. For some reason, we came up. He asked me how I came up, and I said Division II, Division III. He's like, man, I basically only hired JUCO coaches or guys I already know. He's like, those JUCO coaches, I get to see coach. I get to see they can recruit high-level players, and they're going to help me get a player at the end of the day when I have them on staff. But they better get players after that. But that's where I think for guys, if you're young, if you can do Division II, Division III, man, do it. It's the best. But if you can get a junior college job at a good junior college, that's the key, man. Because every coach in America is going to be in those gyms. Like, you do those Florida tours, the Georgia tours, the Mississippi tours, man, almost every team in the country, especially in the Southeast, is running through those to go see those teams. Well, guess what? They're going to meet you. They're going to see you coaching. They're going to see you out there hustling. They're going to know you can handle, because not some junior college kids are great kids, and none of them I'm saying are bad kids, but you got to deal with some different dudes sometimes in junior college. And at all levels you have to. I mean, it doesn't matter at Division III, Division II, but they know you can coach those guys. And if you have a relationship with those guys, man, they're going to see that up front in person, that they're more likely to hire you. So if it was me again, when Butch Estes offered me that right now, I'd have taken it, because I think I would have been in Division I quicker than the route I went. But I mean, I wouldn't change the route I went. I mean, the mopping the floors and doing all that stuff, man, I was okay with it. That didn't bother me at all. Like, so that's what I would do. I would go junior college if you want to be a Division I coach, and not everyone wants to. And if you can get a high school job, man, coaching is coaching. Like, get in there and just work your butt off, and invest in those players. That's the biggest thing. Invest in those guys. Let them know that you care about them, that they're important to you. And when you do that, that's when the guys start playing hard for you. And at the end, we talked about the hard work, unselfishness, toughness, accountability, and joy. Well, that's the joy. They know you care about them, man. They're going to work their butt off.
Coach, you've mentioned the Final Four several times. I'm not I'm not necessarily destined to be a college coach, and probably suck at it. But the importance of possibly going the Final Four as a high school coach, do you feel there's value there or no?
I actually do. because you just get to meet all these different guys, because you never know. Say you build a relationship with a guy and he does get, I mean, you're in South Carolina and say he gets South Carolina or a Winthrop or, upstate College of Charleston. And he's like, man, you were really good in the state. Yeah, obviously you've had really good players. And he's like, man, I think he does a good job. I'd love to hire him. And I think that is something that you do. I think of the Final Four, when I first got there, it wasn't like now, man, you got student managers, you got everyone and their mother running around that bad boy. Like it used to be just basically the college coaches, and you'd see junior college and high school coaches and some prep school coaches, where now it's everybody. Everyone's going. I mean, there's young guys there all the time, because I'll have young guys like, man, I want to be like you. I was like, no, you don't. You don't know what that entails. Like you see where we're at now. You don't see the work that we did to get there. It's just like guys that are our players that say, man, I want to be a pro. I want to be the next Ja Morant. I don't know if you know what that takes to get there. It's no different in coaching. And it's those nights of driving a car from dang Newberry, South Carolina, down to wherever, Florida, and driving back the next day. The heat doesn't work. The air conditioning don't work. Like those things are real. Dre's laughing right now because we have some awful stories that we had driving around in these bum-ass cars that I used to get from Newberry. I mean, it was a rent-a-car / used car company. And, oof, it was brutal sometimes. But those are the things the memories that I remember that I loved. I think about the players I coached, the wins we had, all that stuff. But, man, being out there and just saying, man, I'm on a plane now flying somewhere. And I'm like, man, I remember I used to have to drive this every single time. Like, man, I'm lucky. I'm fortunate. And even then, I mean, 2 years ago, I drove from here to Atlanta, met with a kid and his dad. They showed up 2 hours late and I knew they probably would. They show up late to meet them at the house. I have to drive down to Gainesville that night. I get there at 3, 4 in the morning, 6 a.m. I got a workout. Then next day I drive up to Jacksonville, then down to Tampa, then down to South Florida. Next day I go to like 4 or 5 gyms in South Florida and I fly back. So, I mean, I literally drove within 48 hours from Murray to Miami. And those are just things you have to do. And I'm laughing about it like, man, this is like the old days. This is good. Like, you don't mind doing it. Like, for me, I'm a little weird. I'll be honest with you. If I have a flight that's earlier than probably 9 o'clock in the morning, we're 2 hours from the Nashville airport. I drive my car and I sleep in my car in the parking garage. I still do that. Because I'm like, why am I gonna make the school pay $100 for a hotel I'm gonna be in for like 4 hours? I mean, it's not because we're cheap and we don't have the money to do it. I'm just like, man, that's stupid. I'm not wasting money. I'm gonna sleep in my car. I'm good. I brush my teeth. If I had to go to the bathroom, I'll do it by the tire. I'm good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. I mean, right now, in all honesty, I see a 2022. I look at it real quick, but I'm on 2021. Like the high majors to me, are the ones that really do further ahead than say we do. And not to say we don't do 22s, and we are doing them. And I've got some that I've looked at and put them in our database. But like for us personally, I don't see us offering too many 22s. If you look out there right now, we haven't offered many 21s. Because I can watch the video. I think the offer thing, and it's tough for kids because they see it on Twitter, Instagram. Oh, thanks for my offer. Well, let's be real. I have a kid, and I won't say the state. he had an offer from us, put a John Morant picture up. I direct messaged the kid, said, what coach on our staff offered you? None of us offered him. So not all are real, first of all. So the kid needs to know that. They're not all real. But, and like we keep saying, comparison is the thief of joy. Like, and that's hard at an older age, but especially a younger age, when you see guys that you beat and you're better than. And especially for this kid, I mean, he can't play this. Hopefully he can get to play in August and show what he can do. But, I mean, I think for that kid, he needs to add that chip to his shoulder. That means he needs to be in the gym more. He needs to prove that he's going to be better than these dudes that keep getting all these offers. Like, he can't get caught up in, oh, poor me, I don't have this, man. You build that chip on your shoulder to make that guy work. And those are the guys that are successful in college and in the pros. Like, John Morant had the chip. I mean, that chip on his shoulder is still there, and he's the dang number 2 pick in the draft, probably possibly the rookie of the year. And then I would just say keep sending them out. I know it's tough right now for the 2022s just to get coaches, to jump all over it right now. And patience is a key with that one. I mean, because 21s some coaches still aren't done with their 20 class. So when you send a 22 to them, they're just like, hell, I'm not looking at that right now. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, is there a 20 we can get? And even if they get a 21, they might like save it and star it so they know to look at it later, but they're not going to be all over it like that. But I mean, I think if you're saying this kid is as good as he is, and obviously you've done a great job in what you do in your evaluation, it's going to come for the kid. Like, this pandemic, obviously at some point we're going to open up more. They're going to be able to play. Coaches are going to get to see him. And when we get out more, then that's when he'll get, his proper due that he deserves. But I don't think you can freak out. Even if I had a 21 right now and I knew he was really nice, and I know it's easy to say because nowadays you've got parents, you got coaches. Well, hey man, he's got this offer. And at the end of the day now in high school, you're getting recruited by other high schools. And you got other dudes, well, I can get you this offer. I can get you this. I can get you that. And that happens. And dudes aren't telling the truth a lot of the times on it when they say it. They're just trying to get an advantage so they can get that player. I think you just got to have a good relationship with the kid and his family and be like, look, we're going to keep working. A guy, I mean, like Jamie Shaw is one of the top guys in the Carolinas right now. Coaches call him all the time. They trust him. When they're wanting to get a 22, and like you talked about, a mid-major, he's going to help as well. So don't worry about that. I mean, John Morant's the perfect example. And I'm not saying this kid will end up like that or anything, but he wasn't recruited until that summer. Now, he got a lot of offers in that summer, but it's not like people were beating down his doors his sophomore, junior year.
Yeah, Jamie, it's great you bring that up. I have a kid that, his parents or his mom was more or less concerned. Hey, how come this kid's getting that offer? I see all this. So, I'm known to be just persistent, just bug people. So I just went on Google or Twitter and tried to find every Jamie Shaw across the country I could find and just sent highlight tape after highlight tape and finally got a couple articles out there to at least make it seem like, hey, people are noticing who he is.
Yeah, it seems like the parents are the toughest ones kind of in those situations too. It's not necessarily the kid. The kid's having fun being a kid, but the parents are the ones that are kind of pushing us to all that fun stuff.
Yeah. No, and I mean, we as coaches, and most parents are great, but I mean, I still remember when I was at Guilford College, being up in Maryland. I think it was the Gus something that was up there, and we had Super Dad that we knew had the camera. He was all over the place. I mean, he's all like yelling at the coaches, "That's my son!" Like, everyone on there was like, "What's that kid's name?" Nope, and marked them off. Everyone was like, "Nah, we're good." I was Division III, and I was like, "Nope, not dealing with that." So that's why I don't coach high school basketball. I don't think I can handle those parents.
That was a good
at one time in 9th grade, and I got cussed out by a mom.
Tim, you got me?
Yep.
That brought up a good thought in my head. Like, what are some things that you notice? Like, again, you've been around as long as I have on the road and stuff. And what are some things you notice that changed as far as when you're recruiting kids and
Yeah.
they coaches and things like that. You're 20 years in the business.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like early on, it was literally the kid and his parents, and that was it. Like, yeah, you had to talk to the AAU coach a little bit because they were playing for him. And obviously the high school coach. And I felt as it kept going, the AAU coaches kept getting, because they had a better relationship with the kid. For some high schools, it was all about the relationship. Who did they have the better relationship? Was it the high school or the AAU coach? To where, I mean, and the thing that's changed now is trainers. Like, that's the thing in the last 5-6 years that's changed more than anything. Is now when you're recruiting, you're not only recruiting the family, the AU high school coach, but now you're recruiting a trainer as well and making sure they know what your plan is of development for them. I think that's probably the biggest thing is these parents, and to be honest with you, fair enough for them. They want to know what are your plans to help develop their child, to get them to where at the end of the day, we got guys that we know aren't NBA players. You just know it. I mean, to be in the NBA, you have to be a freak, like a freak of nature. As a basketball player, some athletes, they have to do something that's freakish, whether they shoot the three just ridiculous like a freak, or they're just a freak athlete. But what is your plan, and what have you done in the past to show them? To whereas now you have to, when you sit and you do a recruiting visit, man, you better show a video of what you've done, what you do to build them, your plan. You better have what your marketing department does for players as well. You just kind of have to have all those things to show that, hey, we not only have the best interest for your son to get his degree, but here's what we're going to do to help him hopefully get to the highest level that he can get to. I think that's been the biggest thing for me. And obviously in Division III, man, they just want to see how much scholarship money they can get. And then Division II, I'd get calls and they'd be like, hey, man, that's not enough scholarship money. Like, I didn't save up enough. I don't have enough to pay. I'd just be like, man, ain't my problem. Like, this is the money I got for your son. And hell, I was fortunate enough. I was the interim head coach against Mars Hill, and I'm 1-0 as a head coach, so I should probably quit. I'm in the restaurant with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. My dad comes up to me, hey, man, congrats, good job, good win. I get a call that Monday. He's cussing me out, talking about I didn't play his son. And if you have a child, I hope your child never goes through something like this. And that's when I really realized, and it woke my eyes up of, one, when I got to coach the game, it realized I don't know a damn thing about basketball as a coach until you move that seat over and you realize, like, okay, everything's on you. That opened my eyes on that, and it opened my eyes on when I work with guys, especially young assistants that are, oh, man, we need to be doing this. This is what we should be doing. I'm like, all right, yeah, wait till you get in that seat, see what happens, But and it realized the parents, the dad literally was like, if I have a child or when I have a child, I hope they don't go through what you did to my child. I was like, your son is on more scholarship money than any kid on this team, and he doesn't play. I was like, what your child goes through? I was like, you don't pay for school. Like, man, he's a great kid. Like, I've never demeaned him. We've never demeaned him. He was just like, yeah, but you told him he might have a shot. I said, yeah, he might have a shot, but he didn't play that game. So it made me realize, if I'm ever lucky enough to be a head coach, is all the different things you have to deal with as a head coach than you do as an assistant. And that's why, honestly, I have so much respect for guys that are head coaches at any level. Because they got different animals to deal with than we do as an assistant. I give coach a suggestion and it goes bad. Guess what? That's on coach. That's not on me. He might tell me afterwards, and we might have a word with me then. But I don't have to go into a press conference and ask why we did it. He does. I don't have to answer to the boosters. I don't have to answer to the parents that might call or text. And like Dre, I think the biggest thing that's changed too is the players have more access to more people because of cell phones. When we started, I don't even know if texting was around yet. Like, to be honest, like, everyone was still using a beeper, But to text, if you want to text, you used a beeper. So there wasn't the texting, there wasn't the access to everyone having a cell phone. And now when I was playing, man, I had to call long distance and tell my family, like, I wasn't calling home. I wasn't going to let them, like, they could look it up on the internet. We still had that. They could see what the score was if I scored it all. And if they wanted to call, they could call. Whereas now, man, it's immediate. They got a running stream of whether people are congratulating them or bashing what's going on in your program. And I think that's that's probably one of the harder things. I feel bad for these kids, to be honest with you. I remember going to a high school game in Florida of a guy who was a top 100 recruit. He's being coached by his coach on the bench. He turns around, his dad starts yelling at what he should do, and then the AAU coach is on the other corner telling him what to do. I'm like, how the hell does he know what to do? He's got 3 different voices. That's why some of these kids have these, problems, because they have too many people trying to tell them what to do.
Thank you.
Tim,
Yeah.
what do you think this time has taught coaches, or specifically you,
Yeah.
to get better? What do you think this has taught you?
Yeah, I think it's given coaches time to actually sit back and kind of reflect on what, one, you've done, but more importantly, what do you need to do to get better? Like it's taught me, like, man, there's times you're rolling and you're making sure you're taking care of, the guys, you're making sure you're taking care of your head coach, make sure what he needs to get done. You need to make sure, obviously, I'm married with kids, so I got to make sure I'm doing that, making sure I'm taking care of that. Well, you can do all those things, but now I got to sit and I get to listen to other coaches. I think that's the most important. Like, I'm fortunate enough that I'm up here talking, but there's coaches that deserve it more than me to be up here talking, that are head coaches at every level. They could tell way more than I could. But to realize, man, go listen to these Zooms, go listen, get on YouTube and listen to these guys. And you're going to take little snippets that could help you as a coach or your program. And like you and I have talked about it, like a ball screen continuity, that's something you do already. Maybe you can tweak some things, but if I was teaching, motion offense, you're not going to get, maybe you're not going to run that. So you like listening to concepts, and maybe you learn a little something about teaching guys how to read screens, or teaching guys how to set a screen and the verbiage you use that you can add those to you. I think this has been the best time for coaches that, coaches are on Zooms, on meetings, and if they're not on that, they're watching the YouTube later of it so that they can learn from other coaches. I think that's the biggest thing, sitting down and just learning and talking to other coaches. That's been the best thing, whereas when I was coming up, you went to camp, and at night we would sit together and maybe have a beer and we would talk about coaching. And these older coaches would pass it on to the younger coaches. Whereas I felt like when they let go of not working camp, especially as Division I assistants, you learned to coach on the fly. And if you didn't work on it, like, that was on you. You had to just invest yourself to whereas, man, I'd go work camp, man, I'd have an older coach come over. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully. I mean, I was like 18 to 20 something, and I'd have a 25-year-old guy who's a Division II assistant would just teach me and talk to me about what they do. And we would just get out on the court and just talk about it. And to me, I'm a visual learner. That was the best, to do that and sit there and learn from these guys that have coached at all levels that can bring experience to me that I would have never had. I think Ronnie Hamilton said it, Zoom is the new camps. And he's right. And I think it's great, but man, I think camps are the best. I think that's the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. If I hadn't worked camps, man, I wouldn't be a coach. No chance. 1, for my relationships that I have. 2, the love I have for the game. And then 3, for actually learning how to actually coach. Because 1, I made a lot of mistakes at a young age, because your coach, they'd have us starting. I coached Stephon Curry when he was 10 years old at Duke camp. I'm there dealing with like 50 10-year-olds. Well, 1, you learn how to herd cats at that age. And as you get older, I used to have to run stretching for camp. And you also learn how to make it more fun for the kids too. I think that's the one thing for me, man. You got to make it. The only reason I did this and why I wanted to be in coaching, man, I loved it. That's why. I couldn't be a pro basketball player. I wasn't good enough. Well, man, what's the next best thing? I get to teach, and I get to help other people become better, which coaches invested in me and let me become the best I could become. And no matter what sport, I mean, I told you, I finished up playing soccer. I played Division I basketball and then went to play both, and then just finished playing Division I soccer. But I always knew I wanted to be a basketball coach. Like, I didn't know a damn thing about soccer. I just knew how to run and be fast and score a goal. Again, and I didn't really care to know much about it. I just wanted to be about hoops.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think building a resume is being the best assistant coach for the head coach you're working for right now. Being the best that you can be for them, because they're the best. They are the best voice. They're the best reference you're going to get. Is that coach you're working for is the one who's going to help you get your next job. Because if he calls someone and he's like, I mean, he's all right, like, guess what? They're not hiring you. And I think, you got to be where your feet are. You got to be invested in that program the whole way. And like you said, you can take advantage of it. For me, if I'm at a Division II GA, and obviously if there wasn't a pandemic, I'd be working camps all over the country when I can, because obviously you have responsibilities that you have to take care of at Lincoln Memorial. But if I can go out and work a Tennessee camp, which is right down the road, I can go work Vanderbilt, I can go work Kentucky, all the ones that are within driving distance, man, I would do that in 2 seconds. I'd be out there working those and then recruiting. People need to see you. I mean, I remember asking Butch Estes one time. I was like, he was at Guilford before I got there, and then he was like, man, Tim, if you go, Division II, Division III, whatever it is, he goes, a lot of these Division I guys won't see you because you're at different gyms. And it's different now, because when I was first started out, there was no nice mega gyms that you went and saw everyone play on one court, and you had your top guys playing one gym, and then everyone else could be 10 miles, 20 miles apart that you went and drove to, and you went and did that. To whereas now, these young guys, man, you can go to Under Armour and you can see some Division II players in there that you need to recruit. But then you get to meet all these coaches. Say you see me, Harrison, hey, and then I'm right next to Andre Gray. Then I'm next to Coach Huff, who's there, and I'm like, hey, man, this is Coach Huff. This is, Coach Dre. And then you send them a text or you write them a note at some point. Coach Dieter's there just because he's there to see his kid. You get to meet him, and that's how you build your connections, and you're doing it genuinely because you're there to work. You're there to see players, but then you knew someone, and then you just build that bridge. And I think one thing, no matter what business you're in, you can find a connection with everyone on this planet. There's something you have in common with them. And I think you need to figure that out when you're out on the road, when you meet them. You know me because I was at Winthrop as the ops guy. That's how you know me. That's your connection to me. Well, use me to build to another connection, because I want to do that. I want to help you. I know who you are. I know you're a good person. I know that you work hard, and I know you work for a great guy. So I'm going to help you. Well, the next guy's like, man, he's cool with Tim. Like, I'm all right with this guy. And then it just kind of builds from there. I think that's the advice, man. Just be out there, be working, show that you work. You can talk while you're recruiting. You don't need to socialize the whole time. I mean, I sometimes go in the corner and just sit it over there because I got ADD. And if I don't do it, I'm in trouble. And some people might think I'm a jerk, but I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just like, man, if I start talking, like, hell, I'm not going to know what the hell's going on.
You are a jerk.
But I know that. No, I appreciate you guys being on here. Jamie, obviously doing this for all the coaches, at every level, helping us all get better. You're giving a platform for coaches to get better. You're giving a platform for coaches and for coaches to get to know players, because you're talking to them and we get to watch you interact with them so we can truly see what these players are like. Because, I mean, for us, that's what we have to do. We have to find what they're all about. Because everyone says, man, I work hard. I can't tell you how many kids I've called in the past 5 years. Oh, man, I just got out of the gym. Or I'm like, damn, every kid got out of the gym I just called, texted. Like, and not all y'all have been in the gym. Y'all are lying to me. Where, we truly get to see, yeah. But, and now you actually, like, with FaceTime, you can FaceTime guys if they do it now. That's what I do sometimes. Like, all right, we'll see. I'll FaceTime real quick, see if you're in the gym, just to see if they're telling, the truth. Because that's the guys we want, guys that do want to be in the gym, that want to get better. So I think it's the same for coaches. You're giving us this opportunity to get better. Yeah. I think that's where football coaches, they've always been like that. They've shared. I mean, you hear about high majors going to high majors to watch their offense and defense. Some basketball dudes are like, nah, man, I'm not telling anyone anything. Whereas this, as we talked about, this is what this time has given a lot of us. We've gotten to watch what other people do and how they do it. And they're not going to give play names and all that stuff away, but they're going to show some of the things that they do to help them be successful. Yeah. All right. I look at that right away and say he's going to transfer in college. I mean, that's my first thought immediately. I mean, I had a kid a few years ago. I told him if he left a high school and went to this private school, not that I didn't like it, I said, one, you're in a great situation. It's at home. They're taking care of your academics. People are recruiting you. It's not like you're not being recruited. I said, if you leave to go to this school, I'm just letting you know we're not going to recruit you anymore. And I wasn't trying to hate on that school. It was going to be his third school in 3 years. That's why. And guess what happened? He went back to the high school. And you know what happened when he got to college? Yeah, shocker. Like, you knew it was coming. And he's a good kid. It's not like he's a bad kid. But, if they're going to give up, at times kids give up because it's hard. I mean, the greatest gift my dad gave me, I wanted to quit. He was like, no, you're going to finish everything you start. And it wasn't fun. I didn't always like the coach I played for. But it taught me to fight through things and know that I'm not going to quit. Because I would have quit coaching a long time ago if he'd have let me do that. I understand. If a coach leaves, gets fired, or goes to another job, they should be able to leave. I believe that 100%. They should be able to go where they want. Now, the thing that's going to happen is, say, we're here at Murray State and we got a guard that everyone knows is probably the best player in the country. Well, guess what? Everyone and their mother are going to start doing. We just talked about every player has how many voices in their head. Well, now they're just getting all these college coaches and getting everyone else muddled into the situation. And I think sometimes guys transfer for the wrong reasons, and some do for the right reasons. Hell, I transferred. I can't say anything. I left and transferred schools, but I did it. I felt like I did it what was best for me in the situation to be a better student and to play two sports. That's why I did it. But there's guys that, they're at XYZ school that's at a so-called lower level, averaging 20 a game as a sophomore. Well, man, I can go high major. Well, guess what? You're going to average like 6 to 8 points. Like, just so they know, the pro scouts, they don't want you. They want the guy that put up numbers that help win a championship. Those are the guys they want. They want the guys that they see that are successful, that can lead a program. And then for some of these guys, they leave about to go into their senior year, or, it's a fifth year. They're about to be the all-time leading scorer at the school. They're about to probably get their number retired at the school. Like, if you can play, they find you. There's no problem with that. I mean, they should have watched The Last Dance. You saw Scottie Pippen, Rodman. That was back then they found you. You don't think they're going to find you now with all the technology out? They're going to find you. If you can play, you can play. And just because you transferred blue blood doesn't mean all of a sudden you're a top 5 pick now. You got to earn it. Now, if you go there and you put up numbers and you do what you're supposed to, then yeah. But I just think too many guys give up on where they're the number one guy at a school and they're the guy. And they can leave a legacy. So, I mean, and we're fortunate for where we're at. Hell, we've had 3 NBA draft picks the last 7-8 years. So we're different in the mid-major realm that we have that success.
That one hit a little too close to home, Coach.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, it's true. Guys get drafted from Division II, Division III, junior college. Like, hey man, if you can play, they're gonna find you. No, I really appreciate you having me. And thank you to all the guys, man. Hit me up with a text or an email, man. Love to build a relationship with guys, and guys I already know, obviously. I'll be talking to you. Thanks, Jim.